Imagine a world where your choice of baby name, the time you flush your toilet, or even the act of dying in the wrong building are all policed by law. Not because of some grand political design, but because of tradition. These aren't just dusty old rules. They are the bizarre, hilarious, and sometimes baffling ghosts of a culture's past, haunting its present-day law books. Today, we're unearthing 50 ridiculous traditions that somehow became official, enforceable laws. 1. Let's start in Switzerland, a country known for its precision, chocolate, and apparently, its bladder control regulations. In many Swiss apartment buildings, it is illegal to flush the toilet after 10 p.m. This isn't about saving water, it's a noise complaint that ascended to the level of law. The tradition of night rest, or Nachtruhe, is so sacred that the sound of a flushing toilet is considered a disturbance. So if you had a late-night burrito, you have a choice. Break the law or turn your apartment into a biohazard zone by morning. 2. In Denmark, you can't just name your child whatever you want. There's a law for that. Parents must choose a name from a pre-approved list of about 7,000 names. If you want to name your kid something unique, like Apple or Moon Unit, you need to get special permission from a government body called the Ankestyrelsen. The tradition stems from a desire to protect children from embarrassing names that could haunt them for life. So while it seems restrictive, they're basically just trying to prevent a generation of kids named #. 3. In Le Lavandou, France, it was once illegal to die, unless you already owned a burial plot. Faced with a full cemetery and no expansion approval, the mayor passed this law as a protest. It's a bureaucratic breakdown turned into one of the world's strangest legal stunts. 4. The United Kingdom offers one of the most famously absurd laws, which is a direct fossil of an ancient tradition. It is illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament. Now, this isn't because they're worried about the paperwork. The tradition dictates that anyone who dies within the Palace of Westminster is technically entitled to a full state funeral, an incredibly elaborate and expensive affair reserved for monarchs and national heroes. The law was seemingly enacted to avoid the logistical and financial nightmare of giving a state funeral to a random tourist who had a heart attack during a tour. 5. If you live in Turin, Italy and own a dog, the law has a very specific opinion on your daily schedule. You are legally required to walk your dog at least 3 times a day. Fall short, and you could face a hefty fine. This law grew out of a strong local tradition of animal welfare, turning a cultural expectation for responsible pet ownership into a strict, citywide mandate. It's a beautiful sentiment, but you have to imagine there's at least one lazy dog in Turin thinking, "Come on, man, I was napping." 6. In France, the land of culinary excellence, a bizarre law limits the use of ketchup in school cafeterias. It's not banned outright, but it can only be served with one specific dish: French fries. And even then, only once a week. This isn't a health initiative, it's a war of cultural preservation. The tradition of protecting classic French gastronomy from the invasion of American-style fast food culture was so strong that it was enshrined in law to ensure children develop a proper French palate. It's a culinary crusade, one dollop at a time. 7. Head over to Canada, where being too generous with your pocket change can get you in trouble. The Canadian Currency Act of 1985 sets legal limits on how many coins you can use in a single transaction. For example, you can't pay for something using more than 25 pennies, or more than $5 worth of $1 coins. This law formalizes the unwritten rule of not being a jerk to cashiers. It exists to protect businesses from being forced to accept, say, $100 in nickels. 8. For decades, the city of Reykjavik, Iceland, had a complete ban on dogs. This wasn't because Icelanders were cat people, though they are. The tradition started in 1924 as a public health measure to prevent the spread of hydatid disease, a dangerous parasitic tapeworm that can be passed from dogs to humans. Even after the disease was eradicated, the tradition of a dog-free city persisted and was legally enforced until it was finally overturned in 1984. though major restrictions remained for years after. Reykjavik was, by law, a city of cats. 9. Everyone knows Singapore has a famous ban on chewing gum, but the tradition that led to the law is less about cleanliness and more about something else entirely: public transit. Back in the late 80s, vandals started using chewing gum to jam the door sensors on Singapore's brand new, multi-billion-dollar mass rapid transit system, causing constant disruptions. The problem got so bad that the government took the extreme step of banning the importation and sale of gum entirely, turning a tradition of civic order into an ironclad national law. 10. In Japan, there's a strange law that might seem discriminatory at first glance. Sumo wrestlers are not allowed to drive cars. This isn't about their celebrity status. It's a practical rule born from a safety-first tradition. The Japan Sumo Association is concerned that the wrestlers' immense size would make it difficult for them to safely operate a standard vehicle, from fitting behind the wheel to properly reaching the pedals. So, you'll often see these titans of sport being chauffeured around, a legal requirement born from simple ergonomics. 11. Alright, let's bring this home. In Arizona, it is strictly illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. This law dates back to a 1920s incident where a rancher's donkey got accustomed to sleeping in a tub, and a flash flood washed the tub, with the donkey in it, a mile down the valley. The town spent a fortune rescuing the animal. Instead of maybe building better dams, they made a law specifically outlawing this one donkey's very specific nap preference. A true tragedy for any donkey just looking for a quiet spa day. 12. In many Caribbean nations, including Jamaica and Barbados, it's illegal for civilians to wear camouflage clothing. The tradition of reserving the pattern for military use is so strict, even tourists in camo shorts can face fines or arrest. Your fashion sense could be seen as an act of rebellion. 13. In Thailand, your feet have a legal nemesis: money. It's illegal to step on any currency, be it coin or banknote. The reason is that all Thai baht features an image of the highly revered king. A tradition of showing ultimate respect for the monarchy means that placing your dirty foot on his image is a major offense, punishable by jail time. It's a high-stakes version of finding a penny on the ground. Your first instinct might be to stop it with your foot, but in Thailand, that could be the most expensive step you ever take. 14. Over in Victoria, Australia, some basic home maintenance can land you in legal hot water. You are technically breaking the law if you change a light bulb yourself, unless you are a licensed electrician. This grew from a tradition of extreme trade union regulations and safety standards. So next time you're fumbling to screw in a bulb, just know that in another corner of the world, that's considered a job for a trained, certified professional. The audacity. 15. In Connecticut, a pickle isn't legally a pickle unless it bounces. This isn't a joke. In the 1940s, two rogue pickle packers tried to sell cucumbers masquerading as pickles. The state's Food and Drug Commissioner, a man who clearly took his pickles very seriously, declared that a true pickle must have a discernible bounce. He reportedly demonstrated this by dropping one from a foot high. The tradition of quality control became law, ensuring that every pickle in Connecticut has a little bit of spring in its step. 16. The city of Milan, Italy has a law that makes being grumpy a crime. It is a legal requirement to smile at all times. This bizarre rule dates back to the Austro-Hungarian Empire as a way to promote friendliness and civic pride. Luckily, there are exceptions. You're excused from mandatory happiness if you're at a funeral or visiting a hospital. Everywhere else, you better turn that frown upside down, or you could face a fine. It's the law of forced positivity. 17. On Germany's legendary Autobahn, you can drive as fast as you want in some sections, but you are absolutely forbidden from running out of fuel. Stopping for any non-emergency reason is illegal, and running out of gas is considered a preventable failure. It's a perfect reflection of the German tradition of meticulous planning and preparedness. It's not just a traffic law, it's a judgment on your life choices. Your car's fuel tank is expected to be as overprepared as a German tourist on vacation. 18. Welcome to Gainesville, Georgia, the poultry capital of the world. In 1961, the city passed a law making it illegal to eat fried chicken with anything other than your hands. It was originally a publicity stunt to promote the local industry, but it remains on the books as a city ordinance. While enforcement is non-existent, it's a beautiful tribute to a culinary tradition. Using a fork is not just bad manners, it's an insult to the chicken. 19. Picture a romantic drive along the scenic Italian coast. The wind in your hair, the love of your life beside you, and then you get slammed with a massive fine for kissing. In the town of Eboli, it is illegal for couples to kiss in a moving vehicle. This isn't about public decency, it's a safety measure. The tradition of preventing distracted driving got a very specific, romance-killing codification in law. So, in Eboli, keep your eyes on the road and your lips to yourself. 20. The Philippines has one of the most brilliantly vague laws on the planet: unjust vexation. This law makes it a crime to annoy someone. If your actions cause another person annoyance, irritation, torment, distress, or disturbance, you could be charged. It's a legal catch-all from an old Spanish colonial tradition. While most laws target specific actions, this one targets a feeling. It's the law everyone wishes they could use on their loud neighbors, or that one coworker who replies all to every email. 21. In France, a nation that takes its history very seriously, you can legally own a pig. You can name it whatever you like. Unless that name is Napoleon, it remains illegal to name a pig Napoleon, a law stemming from a 19th century tradition of protecting the image and dignity of the emperor. The French government is legally shielding the feelings of a man who has been dead for 200 years from an animal that is, to be fair, probably not trying to make a political statement. 22. Greece once banned all video games. Yes, all of them. In trying to crack down on illegal gambling, they wrote a law so broad it technically outlawed everything from PlayStation to Minesweeper. It was a legal hammer swung at a mosquito, and Mario was collateral damage. 23. The gorgeous, artsy town of Carmel, California, has a law that seems designed to personally attack fashionistas. It is illegal to walk on city streets wearing high heels over 2 inches tall without a permit. No, seriously, a permit. This isn't a war on style, it's a war on lawsuits. The tradition of protecting the city from trip and fall claims on its uneven, historic cobblestones led to this bizarre piece of legislation. You can get the permit for free at City Hall, making it the most bureaucratic way of saying, if you break an ankle, that's on you. 24. Let's hop back to Italy, to the idyllic island of Capri, where the war on noise continues. Here, it is illegal to wear excessively noisy footwear. The law specifically targeted the loud wooden sandals popular with tourists, preserving a local tradition of peace and tranquility. So while you're enjoying the serene beauty of the island, be aware that your choice of flip-flops could be considered a public nuisance. Your vacation could be legally threatened by the sound of your own feet. 25. And now, for a law that sounds like a fever dream. In Oklahoma, a state famous for its sweeping plains and a profound lack of ocean, it is illegal to eavesdrop on a whale. Let that sink in. A law protecting the privacy of an animal that has never been within 1,000 miles of the state line. Its origins are murky, but it perfectly captures the absurdity of legislative copy-pasting. It's a solution to a problem that Oklahoma will, with 100% certainty, never, ever have. 26. For many years in Canada, a quiet war was waged in the dairy aisle. Due to intense lobbying from the dairy industry, a tradition of protecting butter producers became law. Margarine was legally required to be a different color, usually a pale, unappetizing white, to prevent consumers from confusing it with real butter. Some provinces even mandated it be bright yellow or pink. It was a decades-long battle fought not with weapons but with food coloring and legislative pettiness. 27. Here's a law that takes bureaucracy to a cosmic level. In China, it is illegal for Buddhist monks to reincarnate without government permission. This is not an ancient text. It's a 21st century rule. The law is a reflection of a state tradition demanding absolute control over everything, including, apparently, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. One can only imagine the paperwork involved. Application for continued existence, Form 11B. Please submit in triplicate. 28. You hear a great song in a public square. The rhythm takes over, and you start to dance. In most places, that's called having fun. In Sweden, it could be a crime. A bizarre law requires a license for spontaneous dancing in public places like bars and pubs. It's a holdover from a tradition of maintaining public order from the 1970s. While rarely enforced on individuals, the law criminalizes joy, one unpermitted cha-cha slide at a time. 29. The United Kingdom is so confident in its postal history that it became an unwritten rule, now a global convention. British stamps are the only stamps in the world that do not feature the country's name. The tradition holds that the nation that invented the postage stamp doesn't need to introduce itself. The image of the reigning monarch is enough. It is the quietest, most powerful, and most British flex in international relations, all contained on a tiny piece of gummed paper. 30. And finally, let's talk about a modern tradition that became a legal headache. If you're using a friend's streaming password, you might be a criminal in Tennessee. A 2011 law, originally aimed at hackers selling bulk login credentials, was written so broadly that it makes the casual sharing of your Netflix or HBO Max password a potential misdemeanor. Tennessee looked at one of the most common social customs of the digital age and officially declared it against the law. 31. Try riding a bicycle in Venice. Go on, I dare you. It's a city of canals and footbridges, and bringing a wheeled vehicle into that maze is a cardinal sin. The long-standing tradition of keeping the city purely pedestrian has been formalized into law. You can't ride a bike, a scooter, or even a skateboard through its narrow alleyways. Your scenic ride will end with a hefty fine and the collective stink eye of an entire city. Walk or take a boat. Those are your only options. 32. In Kentucky and several other states, it's illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your pocket. This isn't because the state legislature has a war on Laundry Day. This law is a fossil from a time when horse theft was a major problem. The trick was to put an ice cream cone in your back pocket to lure a horse away without technically having to touch it. So, a law designed to stop clever horse thieves now just criminalizes very, very messy dessert transportation. 33. If you're looking for the ultimate symbol of ancient tradition meeting modern law, look no further than the swans of the United Kingdom. By law, all unmarked mute swans swimming in open water belong to the king. This tradition, known as swan upping, dates back to the 12th century when swans were a delicacy served at royal banquets. Every year, a royal team literally rows down the Thames to conduct a swan census. It's a bizarre, majestic, and legally protected ritual. 34. In Japan, your company might be legally obligated to care about your waistline. The Metabo Law, enacted in 2008, requires companies and local governments to measure the waistlines of their employees between the ages of 40 and 74. If they exceed a certain limit, they are given dieting guidance. The tradition of collective social responsibility for health became a government mandate aimed at curbing obesity. It officially turns your annual performance review into a weigh-in. 35. In South Korea, tipping is not only uncommon, it's sometimes considered rude. While not illegal, the deeply rooted Confucian tradition of service without expectation of extra payment has shaped a society where tips can be seen as insulting. It's one of the few places where generosity might backfire. 36. We all know about the famous Spanish siesta, that glorious afternoon nap. But in some towns, like Ador, it's not just a cherished tradition, it's the law. A town ordinance legally mandates a quiet period from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. every day. All noise must cease, and businesses close. It's a bold legal stand to preserve a cultural way of life against the pressures of the modern 24/7 world. Imagine telling your boss you can't make a 3 p.m. meeting because napping is a legal requirement. 37. Let's pop back to London, where even your cleaning schedule is regulated by law. It is illegal to shake or beat any carpet, rug, or mat in any street. There is, however, one very specific exception. You are allowed to shake a doormat, but only before 8 a.m. This law is a direct descendant of a Victorian-era tradition of not being a nuisance to your neighbors. Shake your mat at 7:59 a.m., and you're a tidy citizen. Do it at 8:01, and you're a public menace. 38. Washington State has an official legal position on Bigfoot. Leave him alone. In 1969, Skamania County declared the slaying of a Sasquatch to be a felony, punishable by a fine and jail time. It was a direct response to a surge in local Bigfoot sightings and the fear that hunters would descend on the area. The tradition of protecting local folklore was given the full force of law, creating a legal shield for a creature whose existence is, shall we say, unconfirmed. 39. The glamorous nation of Monaco built its fortune on the legendary Monte Carlo casino. There's just one monumental catch. Its own citizens are forbidden by law from entering and gambling there. This tradition was established by Prince Charles III in the 1860s. He wanted to use the casino's revenue to fund his state, but he also wanted to protect his own people from the moral and financial ruin of gambling addiction. It's the ultimate do as I say, not as I do national policy. 40. And for our next dose of pure, unexplainable absurdity, we go to Ohio. In the Buckeye State, it is illegal to get a fish drunk. We don't know why. We don't know who was doing it. We don't know what kind of deranged party led to this law being necessary. All we know is that the long-standing Ohioan tradition of keeping fish sober is enshrined in the legal code. It raises so many questions, and frankly, we're not sure we want the answers. 41. In Capri, Italy, it's illegal to wear noisy footwear. The law targets clunky wooden sandals that disturb the island's tranquil charm. If your flip-flops slap too hard, you could face a fine. Silence isn't just golden, it's mandated. 42. Let's go down under to Australia, where a cherished tradition became a legal shield for one of its most famous exports. For a wine to be legally called champagne anywhere else in the world, it must come from the Champagne region of France. Australia, however, used a legal loophole for years, allowing local sparkling wines to be called champagne. It was a national point of pride, a tradition of defiance against old-world wine snobbery, though they've since agreed to phase it out. 43. In Denmark, it's illegal to start a car if someone is underneath it. Sounds obvious, but this law emerged from safety-focused traditions after a rise in bizarre accidents. It's both comically specific and terrifyingly necessary. 44. We return to England for a law that sounds like it was written by a 10-year-old. Since 1313, it has been illegal for members of Parliament to wear a suit of armor in Parliament. This tradition dates back to a time when political disagreements were often settled with, well, swords. The statute forbidding bearing of armor was enacted to de-escalate tensions and ensure debates were won with words, not weapons. It's a good rule, even if it does make modern politics slightly less exciting. 45. In Turkmenistan, lip-syncing is banned at public concerts and events. The president declared it harmful to musical culture and a disgrace to national art. It's one of the only places where pretending to sing can literally be a federal offense. 46. In Thailand, your choice of underwear is a matter of national law. It is illegal to leave your house without wearing any. This isn't about public decency in the way you might think. No one is going to check. The tradition is one of preparedness and maintaining a certain standard of personal decorum, even if no one sees it. It's a law that polices not just your actions but your intentions. Better safe than sorry. 47. The city of Baltimore, Maryland, has a law that makes being a psychic a risky business. It is illegal to charge money for fortune-telling, with violators facing a fine and jail time. This law is a holdover from a 19th century tradition of cracking down on spiritualist scams and fraudulent mediums who preyed on the grieving. So while you can predict the future in Baltimore, you legally have to do it as a hobby, not a profession. 48. In France, the land of gourmet food, there's a law that honors a culinary underdog, the snail. For a snail to be legally considered an escargot on a menu, it must adhere to strict breeding and preparation standards. This is a direct result of the French tradition of protecting its gastronomic heritage. They're not just slimy creatures from your garden, they are a national treasure with legal protection. Not every snail has what it takes to be an official escargot. 49. Let's visit the tiny landlocked nation of San Marino, one of the world's oldest republics. The country has two heads of state, known as captains regent, who serve for a term of only 6 months. A very old tradition, now law, states that after their term ends, citizens have 3 days to file legal complaints against them. It's the ultimate performance review. Imagine if every 6 months your entire country had a legal window to sue its leaders for messing up. All right, we've gone through 49 points and only one remains. But before we get to our final number, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most unbelievable tradition-turned-law on this list goes to Greece's temporary ban on all video games, simply because it represents a government trying to solve a problem with such spectacular, hilarious incompetence that they accidentally declared war on Super Mario. Do you agree with our verdict, or did another point deserve this dubious honor? Let us know in the comments what you think. And now, for our final number. 50. We end in the United States with a law that is both deeply traditional and profoundly modern. In many Native American nations, it is illegal to record or photograph certain sacred ceremonies. This isn't about secrecy for its own sake. It's the legal codification of a sacred tradition. These rituals are considered living, spiritual events, not performances for an audience or content for social media. The law serves to protect the spiritual integrity of a culture from being commodified. It's a powerful reminder that some traditions are so vital, the strongest protection they can be given is the law itself. So there you have it. From smiling mandates to illegal pickles, the line between a cultural quirk and a criminal offense is often thinner and stranger than we could ever imagine. These laws are the ghosts in our legal machine, the hilarious, bizarre, and sometimes profound echoes of who we once were. What's the most ridiculous, unenforced law you know of that still exists where you live? We want to hear about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into legislative insanity, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories you won't believe are true.